first graders. All right, so today we're going to continue with our lesson on Eric Carle and handmade painted papers and collage. So just as a reminder, I have the book that I brought in, which is a house for hermit crab, and we talked about the hand printed papers. We watched a video about Eric Carle, and we kind of looked through the book and identified that there are different shapes, right? Lots of different textures in the paint that we are going to be using to create our Eric Carle inspired collages. Now, last week when you were here, I brought in a big pile of books, right? Because the subject matter for our collage is going to be insects. So I picked out an ant book to do my demonstration with. And so last week what we did was we looked through the books at all the insects and bugs and other little crawly critters, and then we did some sketching, right? So last week my sketch looked kind of like this. I was going with a bumblebee, right? And I drew him nice and big. I really just wanted to kind of identify how many different sections it had, how many legs, does it have wings, that kind of thing. And then I reminded you that our insect or bug is the star of the show, which means it needs to have a big place on our final picture. So for the example that I'm going to do for you today, I decided to use the ant. Right, so I did a little sketch. Now my sketch is on rectangular paper, but our paper will be square. So as you can see, my ant is front and center. Well, he's not center, but he's the focal point of my drawing. I tried to just copy the shapes from the pictures that I saw in the book. Right, I have enough shapes, and then I kind of noticed how the legs go. Right? How many pieces are there? What directions are they facing in? Right? And then because it's an ant and ants live in ant hills, I had to show where my insect or bug is. Right? Is it in the Kroger parking lot? I don't know. Is it floating in outer space? I'm pretty sure it's not. So anyway, I definitely do want some kind of background. Right? If it's a leaf or part of a flower, okay? And just kind of like Eric Carle, this is a tribute to Eric Carle. I put my little son in the corner, right? So here's the thing. Your finished collage will probably not look like your drawing exactly, right? We have a little square piece of paper. I'm going to put this one away. I'm going to put it to the side so I can still see it, right? Use it as reference. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work from the back to the front, meaning my ant overlaps the ground, so I'm going to do the ground first. So we have a very nice selection of hand painted papers that we've been working on for ages. We've been working on it for the last couple weeks. I even had some of my middle schoolers contribute some hand painted papers as well. So there's some surprise things in there. So I chose this one for the ground. Okay, because their anthill is in the dirt, and I'm trying to figure out the best way to show this to you. I'll just kind of do it for me, and then we'll see. So, according to my picture, right, it's kind of at an angle, and the dirt kind of is down here. So I'm going to take my paper, and again, just, you're just kind of winging it. You're trying to get the shapes as close as possible, right? So there's my dirt down here. I'm going to trim that little piece off. You can have your pieces overhang the edges because we can trim them later if you need to. And then I have this paper I thought might make a nice tunnel. That's what this line is right here. It's like a tunnel. So I'm just going to, right? I'm not going to worry too much about it. I'll tell you what I'm not going to do though. I'm not going to cut my shape right out of the middle of the paper. I'm going to try to stick to the side over here, right? So I didn't even need that much. I'm going to cut out kind of a basic shape of what I might need. Okay, kind of like that. And then I'm just going to fit it over here, right? I can even pick this piece up and kind of trim it like that. So now I'll take my glue and I will glue this piece to my dirt. And then I'm going to glue my dirt to my paper. I'm using a glue stick because oftentimes when I use white glue on paper, it makes the paper curl. The water in the glue kind of makes the paper curl up. Although this paper wants to curl anyway. So whenever I'm doing something like this and I really want to smooth something down but I don't want to mess up the surface, right, I'll flip my paper over and that way I can rub on the back side. Oh, I'm making the camera shake. I can rub on the back side and make sure that glue stick is stuck all over. Okay, so now that's kind of what my anthill looks like. And I can put these pieces back in the big pile for other people to use. I could also go ahead and make my sun. I'm going to use this paper and I'm just going to, since this is already a corner, I'm going to cut out a piece to go. Oh, it goes in the other corner. So silly. It goes right there. Okay, and then if I were Eric Carle, I would probably, now watch this, so you're not cutting for days. Okay, so now I have a little piece like this, and I am just going to slice, 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 and just cut it into little strips, and that way I can use those to make the rays of my sun. They don't have to be quite so long if I don't want them to be, but and that's basically that. You get the idea. I don't have to glue all those down for you. So there's the sun. I might make them a little shorter. So now I have my dirt and my sun, right? And there was not a lot of black paper. Most of the time when you guys painted your papers, you wanted the brighter colors. So I'm just gonna kind of cut this black piece. This is for my ant. And I'm looking, right? I'm looking at my little shapes. Excuse me. And they do not have to be exact, right? We talked a little bit about what it means for something to be abstract. So let's see. We take the details away and make something abstract. So here's his little head. I just kind of cut the shape out. And then the next shape, I'm going to try to kind of keep them close together when I cut them out so that I'm not wasting all this beautiful paper. So here's another shape. And I may have to recut a shape. If I cut one and then I decide that it's too big or too small, I may have to recut a piece. I'm sure that Eric Carle had to recut some of his pieces too. All right, let's see. So here's another little piece right here. And then that last big piece. Okay, there we go. So now, I don't have it glued down, but I think you could probably see that I have the body of my ant. And again, right, with those little strips like I did for the sun, I can just cut some little strips and then I can start laying them down for the legs, but I'm not going to do that until after. And some of them are curved, those leg pieces. So I might cut a couple pieces that are curved, right? We can get as detailed as we want to, but most of it is fairly simple. Okay, so I'm going to glue him down. Let's see. Put a little glue on his head. Oh, that's a lot of glue. I did not need that much. All right, put the head right there. And his body. Oh. Okay. Next little piece. And last piece. All right, I'm going to move this sun for now and kind of lift this up to show you. So that's kind of the basic shape of my ant. And I can put his legs and, oh gross, put his legs and everything on in a minute. The last thing though that I wanted to show you, I'm going to go ahead and glue this little sun piece down over here, is that we can leave our sky white, but we can also use chalk pastels to very lightly color the sky, but this is the very last thing we'll do. Also, I can take an oil pastel, right? And again, these are details. These happen last, right? All the paper gets glued down first, and then we'll do the details. So it's very possible you will not get all your paper glued down today. So you may have to start today, finish next time, and then maybe the third day we'll do our details. But I just kind of wanted to show you how that's going to work, because in my book, do you notice how this color of the ant is lighter than this color down here? This is the shadow, right? So this part is what we call a highlight. And you can add details, especially say for instance if you're doing butterflies or bumblebees, things that might need just a little extra detail, or if they're furry, right? And the paper doesn't have a furry texture. So anyway, so what I can do is on the top, I can add just a little bit of oil pastel. Okay. And he starts to kind of look like he's a little more three-dimensional. We can do that too. So I think for today, this is enough for you to get started. And I'm looking forward to doing the final video for the last half of the assignment. Go Eric Carle, and let's get started.